2 years ago, January 2020, I sat down after taking 90 days off grid, no phone, no vehicle, no internet. I sat down to work on a book that at the time I had been working on for 29 years. In the process of wanting to work on this book, before I wrote it, over the last decade or so before that, there was a small collection of books and literary works that I was going to read as a prep for me to begin my book. Because I'm writing a piece of literature, not just an autobiography. And again, this is something that at this point I've been working on just over 3 decades. When I sat down to write this one book, the one important thing for me is I wanted for someone, the reader, to be able to read the book and have a takeaway. And trying to put 3 decades worth of content and collection alongside of my autobiography and everything that I've learned and what I wanted to teach, I was struggling to figure out, how do I write a book that someone can say, well, this is what I take away. There are a lot of things that I went through in my head to try to figure out a way that I could make this work. And it wasn't until realizing, because of these books that I had been collecting, that I could become a serial autobiographer. And then as soon as that happened, the mission, the purpose, the thought of one book turned into what has now become an enterprise. My long-term goal is to become the world's largest private nonprofit. It's my trade secret, my patent, so I'm not going to share all the details. I have shared some of what it involves. But nonetheless, one of those steps, obviously, is forming a nonprofit, and there are requirements to that. Now, I know amongst all the videos that I have is this eye roll of, yeah, what is this? But I can assure you, amongst the crazy mess is something way bigger than myself. Now, I've been struggling with 3 traumas, and the last one that I have dealt with 11 years that I have talked about enough, was very difficult for me to get through, and I almost didn't make it through. And I've said in a recent video that this YouTube drama that went on has affected me greatly. It has shown me that the person that happened before all this trauma still does exist. Although it's been 11 years, I am much more mature, and the focus, the width or breadth, the depth, the height, and the distance of what I'm doing is far outreaching anyone's imagination. You would have to be borderline crazy to conceptualize that this would somehow work. And I'm very proud of the work and effort that I have put into this. Since January 2020, as I have thought of different ways of marketing my books and seeing this nonprofit that I want to do conceptualize, I don't know, what should I say? The idea of what I am creating is so amazing that I'm a bit taken back that somehow this ended up being my life. But on the same hand, when I first, in 1992, decided that I was going to write this book, the one thing that I told myself is that I was going to win the Nobel Peace Prize for Humanity. Now, many things have come to be, or part of what I'm doing, that would likely discredit me from being able to achieve such a goal. Maybe not. It's not like I'm sitting reading the handbook of how they decide who wins what. But I still hope that someday one of my biggest goals is to be recognized by the panel of people who do judge the Nobel Peace Prize. Now, I know that's a very large thing to say, but now that I'm where I'm at now, I do believe that I am still on that path, at least to be recognized by the people who sit on that bench. Tomorrow is February 3rd, 2022, is one of the steps to formalizing a nonprofit. Now, I am ahead of the schedule for forming a nonprofit, but I do believe by the end of the year that I will have to go and get the paperwork and file my files and declare who my board of directors are. So tomorrow afternoon or early morning, I'm going to meet with one of my choices for the other two on the board of directors. She would be my chief financial officer. She is an amazing woman, and I am honored to have been able to work with her for 2 years to understand the kind of person that she is. And also, I know she knows who I am, craziness and the good in all. She doesn't know what I'm going to talk to her tomorrow about, but I'm hoping that she will accept this position. Now, there's no long-term requirement for her, and it's actually, for the most part, it's just going to be a formality at this point because I have to have 2 other people listed. My chief operating officer, I sent text messages today. We all 3 know each other quite well. I sent her text messages, my chief operating officer nominee. I have not heard back from her, but I told her that I told her some of what's going on and that I need to meet with her. They've all known, anyone who has ever crossed paths with me has heard me talk about this book. These 2 women are literally, where I worked, I met some of the most amazing women I have ever in my life met. And I can't do this the way I want it to be done without them. I need them. I need them because I can trust them. I would respect their opinion. They're the only ones that would be able to say to me, you need to bring it down a level, or you need to do this, because I can respect them. I suspect by the end of this year that I will start getting donations in. Now, what I am trying to create essentially will require me to have a production building. That production building will be funded by my books. The first book should cover a majority of it, as well as I am on the hunt for someone who can create something like a YouTube channel, Facebook page that is as involved as Facebook is, but as well functions similar to, say, YouTube does. There are many parts to this, including my own music that I'm going to be writing, producing, advertising for the enterprise, the books. All of this ties together. But I just wanted to share how I tried to lay down and take a nap, and I just couldn't. Because I text messaged my nominee for chief financial officer if she would be available, that I needed to meet with her, that it was important, because I didn't want the nominee for chief operating officer to contact her and, them talking before I actually got to meet with them. So it became apparent I needed to make this seed planting to her now. Now, I won't need her till sometime, I imagine, before the end of the year, but I do not know that. I do not know that because I could have someone come in from some nowhere and donate $1 million to the cause. And there are people in my life who may laugh at the idea of someone donating me $1 million. But by the time this is all done, I know that I'm going to get Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk to donate money to this as well. It is a win-win for humanity. There are no losers. There is no possibility of being any losers. I will be approaching different sectors of society as I have, over a dozen YouTube channels, social media profiles. I'm going to get business cards made at some point, passing out. This year is my year for boots on the ground. I'd mentioned this before. I had made a connection with someone over in Chicago, whether that pans out or not. Connections with people, boots on the ground, right there in the presence of understanding, of knowledge, of tact, of the business platform. It is all this year. This year will end on a note that will completely make all of my previous years of life seem insignificant by the end of this year. I know that. I know what I'm working on. I can't share, won't share all the details, but I have shared quite a bit if you were to dig through my other videos. I just wanted to make this video because this is a very important point. Because right now, it's just me. It's just me with ideas. And that, I think we can just state it there. By having two other people involved, it is going to plant a seed where they're going to have their own ideas about such things. I know that I can't, I feel as if I'm going to give them an offer they can't refuse. I look forward to this year and showing or displaying more of what I'm about. I have much to learn in the realm of producing film. What I am trying to create is not something out of the box. I cannot replicate, duplicate, and use other people's talents to mirror and to grow mine. Now, there are elements of it, for instance, the drama parts that I may be able to copy and paste some, but there are many parts that cannot. Many things that come out of my mouth are original thinking and thoughts because of the way that I was raised in my whole existence for nearly now 5 decades. I am very confident of this. I oftentimes say things that people have never heard of, and they cannot get it out of their head. I do have talents. I am perfecting more, and as I said, January 2020, this grew into something larger than I could have ever imagined. And with that, so does when I look at the world, when I walk out my front door, and how I interact with people. I am very proud of myself, and I am going to be very proud to share everything that I am going to try to do. I look forward to fine-tuning the exact name of the nonprofit that I'm going to create, because Tradewin Enterprise is not a name I can use. It's already a patented title. It already is used. I can tell you that it will involve the phrase Tradewin Enterprise nonprofit and some other stuff in there. The whole enterprise that I'm creating has to do with wind or currents. Currents, of course, are driven by wind, or they come together, you could say. Currents, of course, are driven mainly by the icebergs, but wind does affect them, and there's a lot of things that involve in that. But we're splitting hairs here. It's the theme of what I'm creating. It's the theme between all 4 books. So with having said that, I just wanted to share that tomorrow is a very big day tomorrow. I will not be posting any video about my interaction with this person. This is a very private conversation. This is a person that does not like to be in the spotlight. But this is a person that very much can do the job and will be very, very, very well liked by the world as we build our reputation. I look forward to sharing my growth with you all. 6 months, roughly 9 months before my 3rd trauma, I had graduated from a 4-year degree in college. I lobbied Washington, D.C. while I was on a conference within my college degree. I met with some pretty amazing people there. I have attended 4 other conferences aside from the Law and Legislative Conference that I went to in Washington, D.C., which was my first, all centered around understanding diversity. It is who I am. I am not what my videos show. This randomness of person. I am slowly trying to find back my professional self. This year, when I understood how I was feeling a bit more stability in myself, rounding the corner of a lot of obstacles, I knew this year was the year of boots on the ground. The one thing that's going to hold me back, finances. I haven't worked in 2 years. I do hope to have another job. Not having finances is slowing the progress of my home remodel down. I mean, I may not even have an oven in my house until next year. I'm looking at plywood cabinets and such, and I'm not going to go into that. It's not important. So the main thing there is the house remodel needs to be finished because it is distracting me from being able to just relax and concentrate on creating content and establishing and building the nonprofit even more. I have a lot of work to do. That's just all there is to it. And I can't have one without the other. The house needs to be done so that I can do what needs to yet be done. Like I said, I'm rounding the corner of all of the things I've been dealing with. And I would say a year and a half ago or so, I felt like the universe was starting to open up and has removed numerous obstacles or challengers out of my life, from family to neighbors to a tree that I needed more light in my yard to, which was the first thing that happened that just, well, as I've said in some video and on a Facebook post, I've lived in my house for 25 years, and there was this one tree that was one of the first trees that I ever planted in my house, and I was looking at it one day overlooking my very landscaped yard and said, you know, it really would be kind of nice if this tree was gone and what it would do for letting light in my yard. And literally the next day we had a windstorm come in and took my tree down. I cannot say how many times I was just taken back and in awe. And it set the stage for many things happening since then. And I don't know what to say. It was a very strange situation, and it has continued to be like that. There is a very large history of my life being like that, but when my third trauma, January 2020 happened, when my third trauma happened, January 2011 happened, I was completely disconnected from experiencing these dimensions beyond our eyes things happening in my life, and they started to come back, and when they did, there have been many things, and I would be amiss if I didn't mention that. I have always believed this to be my calling. There are many things that I could have died, should have died, nearly ended my life over this time, and here I am. Deeper, broader, higher, and more distance. So I encourage you to share or interact with my channel, to just stand and watch and see what is about to unfold. I will become world famous for what I am going to be doing. I will have large donations coming to my nonprofit. I know this, I believe this because of the purity of my intentions. What I am trying to create could never be duplicated by anyone else. They could duplicate it, but what they do with that money would not be the same. There is no comparison to what I am trying to do. I'm going to close this now because it's already gotten quite long, but I just want you to all know that there are other sides to me. There are other YouTube channels that I may only occasionally share on this page, but never forcefully try to drive viewers from one channel to another. That's all I'm going to say on that. I'm creating unique demographic fan bases, if you will, on other channels, all driving to this enterprise that I'm creating. I'm very proud of myself. But I just want you all to know I'm very excited for tomorrow. I believe that I'm going to have very positive results. I'm also going to spend a little bit of money just on me personally for my, I wouldn't even call it my mental health, for a treat to myself. Last year, in the year 2021, I didn't spend any money on anything that I didn't think I could turn around and make money with. For instance, I spent money on video editing software, lots of add-ons, the mic, things like that. Things that inevitably will be making me money. Tomorrow, I'm going to go on a tiny little plant shopping spree, and I will share, likely, the video content on this channel, as well as my gardening channel, because that is, that's a gardening channel, and I'm going to be spending money in gardening stuff. One of the things that I'm doing this for is I lost a lot of houseplants and other things during this third trauma that happened January 2011, and I am very confident that I am accountable, responsible, and dependable, that I can maintain and take care of these plants, and that I am not going to slide back. And when I say slide back, I started this YouTube channel 4 years ago. In fact, I started this channel with the two gals that I have nominated. I started this channel when I was working with them. So it's interesting how this has all come out. But when I first started this, I guess you could say I had a lot of false starts. And I would climb a little bit, It felt like I took one step, two steps up, and one step down. 3 steps up and 2 steps down. I just kept crashing. And sometimes I would crash and it would be months or weeks long. It has been a difficult journey. But sometime in December, the Christmas video that I made was sort of this realization that I was rounding a corner. And as January unfolded, and the YouTube drama that happened that I've mentioned several times now was validation to me that I am here, I am back, and I am permanently going ahead. There's no 2 steps down anymore. I can't say it's going to be nothing but up. There will be challenges. One of the things that I have a goal I had mentioned was going and visiting the African American History and Culture Museum out there in DC. That is something that I want to do by the end of the year. It's something that I feel I have to do. It's something I would love to do with a small group. I also need to do this trip to Chicago and make these connections with people, at least to get me a foundation, because next year I'm going to do a meet and greet sort of thing in Gary, Indiana, South Chicago, because that is going to be, once the 5-year plan happens and I build a home base building here, the production studio that will also house the nonprofit, my second building I want to put in Gary, Indiana, serving the Southside Chicago, Gary, Indiana area. And there's other areas, but that's essentially where I want to start. My third one after those two, I want to put that one in Africa somewhere. But that's going to be a bit yet, because I want to make sure that I know which country I want to put it in first. Then from there, I want to scatter throughout the world. I literally want to build hundreds, if not thousands, of these buildings throughout the world, all working for the nonprofit. I can't explain to you what it is and why I'm doing what I'm doing, because that is part of the trade secret. Once things start happening, then you'll know. The only people that are going to know are the 2 people that I have elected as my board of directors. Once I get a chance to talk to them and they accept, and we start having these monthly or quarterly meetings, they will then understand exactly what I'm doing. And they will be the only 2 until our first building. Or, unless, of course, this video gets in the hands of someone that says, if what he's saying is true, I want to hear what he has to say, because before I write out $1 million check, I want to validate what it is he's trying to do. Is it worth it? And I can assure you, it is worth it. With that, I'm going to close. Again, I'm excited for you to follow me. Will I be changing up the videos, and will they reflect a more professional approach? Likely, I'm going to stumble with that for some time, and I'm going to be just your typical newbie YouTuber that's like, he's not going to make it, but I will make it. You don't just turn your back on 31 years. I just have a learning curve in learning how to make the kind of content that I need to make. Some of this is going to require, like I said, the costumes, the set design. There's other sound equipment that I have to invest in. There's one piece of equipment I want that's about $4,000, and I'll be lucky if I can even get that this year. They are dependent for me on other YouTube channels. There are complete unique characters that I am creating. So what you see on here won't be anything like another channel or another one or another one. Very, very, very different. So hang with me. I am very unique to YouTube. I can very much promise you that. And like I said, I'm not going anywhere. And I love diversity, and I love people, and I love people who are different than me. I always have, and that is one of the unique benefits about me. There are things about me that no one else is like. Well, I shouldn't say no one else. I represent the minority when it comes to certain things. Like, I have no competitive spirit. You cannot drive me to compete against another human being. You can drive me to compete against myself. I do that very well on my own. I don't measure against anyone else. I do all I can do until I can't do no more. With the exception of sometimes I work on a YouTube video for so long and I'm like, I just need to get it done. Nobody's watching enough to care if I didn't get the timing just right, or the clip just cut just right, or the music just off with the words, or this or that. Eventually I will. One of the things I'm working on right now, or need to, is saying because if I try to edit a video and remove every time I go there's literally like 24 of them in a 2-minute span, literally. And it's embarrassing. So I'm trying to work on talking clearer and more precise and without drag phrases, if I can call them that. So that's it. I got to close this up. This is getting to be a long video, and I know you guys don't like watching them, but that's all I got to say. I am thankful to be here on YouTube, in the world, at this time, and in this place, and after everything I have been through. I am so thankful. And I will give back more than I could have ever have been given. And even if someone would donate $1 million to me, that isn't going to me. That is not going to fix my house. I do presume it will cover some transportation and meals while I'm there, because I will be meeting lots and lots of people. Literally, I expect thousands of people in the next few years that I will meet as I grow in this journey. And countless more, I'm sure, will be writing me letters once my books come out, and how they resonated with their life and how they spoke to them. I'm controversial, but if you see it through, I do believe I'm going to change the world in a way that the world never seen coming. I thank you for your time, and I ask for nothing but good thoughts and positive energy. As I said before, my intentions are pure. You just have to listen and see me through, because there are moments and times when people get triggered and they shut down. I cannot, of my most trained and best self, make everyone like me. It's just not the way the world works. But everyone will benefit. And there will be things that I say that will be rejected, but the seed planted, they will not be able to get it out of their head, and they will think about what I have said, and they're going to start questioning everything they knew. I am going back all the way to Mesopotamia, where I feel civilization got us wrong on the foot going forward, mostly based on religion. That's all I'm going to say on that. Talk to you guys later.